Full opportunity to learn, opportunity to grow. Obviously, you guys know what CLEAN stands for, man. We're building the #1 business community for restored citizens and really just underdogs in general. You know what I mean? There's a lot of underdogs in our lives, in this life, in this world. I come from that underdog mentality, and I love, what that does. I love the energy it gives me, and that's what CLEAN is about. You know what I mean? So we represent the underdogs. We represent the underdogs. Obviously, you guys know what CLEAN stands for, man. We're building the #1 business community. What we got today, man, is we got one of our guys all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, joining us. One of the things we talk about all the time is, we have platforms. There's things that we've been through. There's trials and tribulations, and we got stories, and it's all in our minds. We want to do something with it. You know what I mean? All these experiences that we've been through, there's power in sharing that with someone else, right? So they can learn from the mistakes maybe that we've made or learn from the successes that we've had. We got to figure out how to package those up, right? So that we can be able to share those. And oftentimes we as people, we want to do that. We just don't know how. You know what I mean? We don't know how. And so I'm a firm believer that everyone should get in the process of documenting their story. And we got one of the best to do it today, man. You know what I mean? Coming with us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, from Oakland, right, California. And, has been through some trials and tribulations himself, right? But have withstand that, and most importantly, have figured out a way to use his stories and take his stories and empower other people. You know what I mean? So an author 10 times over is with us today, man, to teach us how to take everything that's in this mind of ours, take it from the brain to the bookshelf.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? How to monetize it, right? So that's what we're gonna get into, man. My guy, C.W. Burnett, also known as Cal.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
to him, baby. What we got?
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate y'all, man. Blessed to be in the building. You know what I'm saying? To share this knowledge with y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about myself. My right under C.W. Burnett. My name is Calvin Burnett. I'm from Oakland, California. I'm no different from y'all. I'm actually more like y'all than what y'all know. You know what I'm saying? I've been in and out incarcerated from a juvenile all the way into an adult. You know what I mean? From 15 to 25, it wasn't a year that I didn't at least do a violation or have something happen. We all know how that revolving door is. The biggest obstacle I faced is when I come home, what am I gonna do? How can I change my reality? And my circumstances always led me back to the situations that got me into the situation I was in before. But I'm a writer, I'm an author, I'm a publisher, and I used a skill set of mine to produce a stream of income. And that's what I'm gonna come and teach y'all how to do today. A lot of us have so many stories and so much knowledge to share. Like, I'm sure somebody in this room who has written with the intention of putting it out, but when it's time to get it out, we become discouraged because we think it's so many different steps that we can't afford to take. We don't have the resources to take. And now all your good knowledge sit on the shelf and nobody gets it. You take it to the grave with you. You could have actually packaged it, made money off of it, and had a stream of income that wouldn't put you back in the situation that you're trying to overcome. So that's what we're gonna do today.
Yeah, let's get it, man. So obviously, we have a live audience, all right, which is super dope. We also have our viewers that are chiming in on our YouTube live, all right, and then obviously we have some folks that may tap in as we continue to build. This is, first of many. As we talk about this, we want to share with you how to and the guide to going out and doing it and putting it into action. And then of course we'll have some follow-up behind that, man. So we're gonna dive right into it. Obviously, we got a couple assets here. I'm also an author. Waiting to Fail book was published about 10 years ago. So we get a chance to interact and sit on this stage as authors. We know what it's like to have been in those seats, have been in those labs, been in that mind space of writing, and take something from our mind and take it all the way to a finished product, man. And that's what we're gonna do today. So you guys get a chance to ask questions. If you're joining us live, make sure you throw those in. We'll get an opportunity to answer those as we go along. But man, we're gonna dive into it, man, because Cal come with our Braid to Bookshelf guide, and so we're gonna jump into it, man. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. So these are a couple of my projects. This one right here is called Deshaun's Road to Redemption. It's the story of a man, he's incarcerated, and he's court ordered by a judge to see a therapist to trace the origins of his childhood trauma. And throughout his court process, he's seeing this therapist with the intention of getting a lighter sentence. But the whole time, though, he's unraveling layers of his past that's helping him understand why he keeps getting into these situations so he can know what to do moving forward. And so before y'all leave, I'm sending everybody with a signed copy of that. You know what I'm saying? And not only is it, you know, good literature that I'm sure can resonate with everyone, but also it's a good reference, right? You guys will always also be getting From the Brain to the Bookshelf, which is going to show you how to take your thoughts, get them to the shelf into a finished product. And so this can be your reference if you need to open it up and see how I worded something, how I framed something, you'll have that example. And so that's what we're gonna do.
Can we throw the book? Can we throw the guide on the screen so that everyone can see that? There it is. Let's go.
And so first we're gonna talk about what happens before the ink touches the pad. Before you even start writing, right? Like I said, the idea could become overwhelming. So you want to make sure that you're establishing as comfortable as a space as you can. That doesn't necessarily have to be a location. Me, for example, my thing was I had to be secluded with old school R&B playing and eating fruit. That was my best writing space. Now, of course, we can't always get into that.
What type of fruit, bro?
Man, I'm telling you, look, pineapples, watermelon, cantaloupe. Yeah, them three right there. You know what I'm saying? A big old bowl of it. Got my water, I got my vibe playing, and I'm just writing.
You know what's crazy? So listen, my space was, and I still, to this day, when I want to lock in, I listen to Solange.
Okay.
I don't know, like, I wouldn't normally listen to her regularly,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
But
in my writing space or just creativity space, man, I'm throwing Solange on. I can't remember the album right now, but I'm throwing her on from like 2015, whatever that album was at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm rocking out, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hear no words or nothing. I just hear the tones and it get me going. So,
right.
Yeah,
you in the zone, man. That's similar for me, man. I go a little further. I go Teddy P,
Easy.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know what I'm saying? Isley Brothers. I go to the stuff my mama used to play when I was young. It take me back to that youthful, innocent space. And now I'm locked in and I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So establishing your space is very, very important. You know what I'm saying? You want to be consistent with it. Some people got to write around the same time of the day. You know, it might be in the morning after you bust down workout, might be before you work out, before you get your day started. You know what I mean? You want to write something and your creative juices flow better that way. You know? Don't be afraid of writer's block. We're going to get into that too. You know what I'm saying? Some practices I use to overcome writer's block, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When your creative juice is going to stop flowing, and you need to kind of break that barrier a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So establishing your writing space, whatever makes you comfortable, is very important. You know what I'm saying? And with anything, you know, you want to be properly prepared. You know what I'm saying? You want to be proactive, not reactive. And so if you're going to use a pen and a pad, you want to make sure you got your pens, multiple ones. You want to make sure you got enough paper. What happened, man? You flowing, and then that pen go dry. Now you searching for another pen, you searching for a pencil, and now that done took you out of you being locked in. That might cost you 2-3 days of writing. And so you want to be consistent, and you want to be prepared. You want to have your material, everything in front of you, so you can rock and roll. Those are very, very important things.
So before you do anything, listen, at least prepare yourself. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So if we want to get in our headspace and say, look, I want to write something, hey, just lay it out. You might have it sit there for like 3-4 days. Maybe it sit there for a week, 2 weeks.
That's real.
But when it allow those creative juices to start flowing. Maybe you just got to let it sit there and say, man, you know what? I'm going to just set the table. I'm going to set the stage, and then I'm going to come back to it when I'm ready. Because there's going to be times, like you talked about that writer's block, there's going to be times where you want to, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you have the space, as he's saying, is you have the environment that allows, oh, I got it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes those things come in the middle of the night.
Absolutely.
They come early morning. They come at the whim. You got to be able to go and get in that zone real quick and jot that info down.
Yeah, it's a saying, man, you know, success loves speed. You feel what I'm saying? So when you got your idea, you don't want to have to wait. Like you said, man, you got to leave a pad by your bed. You know, one underneath the bed, one in the bathroom. Some of my best thoughts came on the toilet, to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? Sitting down, bam, 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 bam. You know what I mean? And it don't got to make sense. We're going to jump into that too. You know, at some point in regards to, you know, chronological order ain't necessary. You know what I'm saying? You might write the middle of what you're writing right now in the beginning later on. So don't think you gotta have your story automatically lined up in a way so it can be perfect. You know what I'm saying? That's what I don't want you to do. But yeah, I done had writer's block, bro, for weeks.
Yeah.
For weeks. You know what I'm saying? And so that is very easy to do. You know what I'm saying? Very easy to do, but I can't preach preparation enough. Preparation, I tell my kids this all the time, if you prepare, you don't need to be scared. And that's with anything in life. You know you want to write, so you should know what you need to begin writing.
Dope. What would you say, and I know we're going to jump into it, but for somebody that's thinking about what to even write, like, how do you even go there? Like, you know what? I want to write about my life. I want to write a fiction, a novel. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how do you even begin to think? There's so many thoughts in our head. Like, what do I even focus on?
All it takes is one thought. You just answered it yourself. Like, you might wake up and say, I want to tell the world about myself. You might know how to cook good. You might be like, look, I want to share this with somebody. I want people to know how to cook. You know, especially as men, right? As men, typically, we lean on other people to cook for us. Like, that ain't really our go-to naturally, right? But to survive on your own, you got to eat. So why not eat good, right? And so if you have that ability and that skill, you can literally package that and sell it to other men or people interested who had that same feeling. So to answer your question, when you thinking about something to write, you thinking about something that can resonate with the masses. You're trying to reach as many people as you can with your idea. And if you're passionate about that, it's gonna play into your creativity and it's gonna translate to the work.
One of the things that you kind of mentioned that I always like to address, because I wrote this right here, you know what I mean? You got this big book right here, so a lot of people think when you writing a book, it's got to be 150, 200 pages, it's got to be so many words, it's got to be this thick. And I promise you, people ask me all the time, yo, when am I writing another book? First of all, I'm like, hey, you better go reread the first one.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
for real.
You know what I mean?
For real.
Because I don't know. And I've done it. I've written other, pieces, but I haven't done it in this form.
Yeah.
Right? And so for me, 10 years ago, this was the form that I thought was, you know what I mean? You had to have it in this form, and you don't. One of the things that you kind of alluded to is, listen, when I get a thought, I can literally turn that thought into an art form. I can turn it into a medium. I just need to share it. Listen, this right here, this is a book.
Right.
This is a guide. It's not like this, but it's information that's going to help somebody else do something.
Right.
Right? And that's what people want to know, they want to learn, and they're going to pay you for it.
Right.
So what I tell people all the time is, you don't have to write a novel, you don't have to write a 300-page book. Listen, write a 10-step guide. You know what I mean? If it's about cooking, let me show you 10 steps as a man how to prepare 10 great dishes.
Right.
That should be 10 pages.
Absolutely.
Get a cover page, now you got a book that you can sell $10, $20.
That's a published piece of work.
Think about it. Hey, what's your favorite meals while y'all locked up?
Spreads.
Huh?
I'm busting spread down every chance I get.
What's the 10? Look, I'm gonna write a book, the 10 meals in the joint.
I got an uncle that eats spreads on the street right now.
You know what I mean?
On the street right now, uncle don't want nothing but bust down every night.
How many people you think be interested in? I'm gonna write the 10 best meals in the joint.
See, and I even wrote it in this, man. The story's done when the story's done. There's no page count. Story's done when the story's done. When you're done telling your story, when you can no longer elaborate on it, it's done. 800 pages, 80 pages. It's done what it's done. That's it. Don't get caught up on page count, because you'll water down your product trying to stretch it. That's with anything in life, right? You stretch yourself too thin, you lose value. You know what I'm saying? So the story's done when the story's done. That's it, that's all. Whether it's a fictional story like this one with real undertone, or whether it's a skill set, you teach somebody how to cook, man, when the steps is done, it's done. It don't have to look a certain way.
Hey, I just found my next book, bro. I'm excited. I don't know. Whoever want to partner with me, we going 50-50. We going to author the 10 best meals in the joint. I guarantee that boy going to sell.
Or just like man, you can put together a workout, or you can put together a workout book. If you got a workout routine, you know, you look like you're in pretty decent shape, man. If you got a regimen, bro, there's somebody on the street who can relate to that. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody who can't afford a $30 a month membership. He needs to know what calisthenics he can do to maintain and to build muscle and get his frame right. That's a book. But what you do is you personalize it. When you personalize your message, you resonate to other people. There's somebody thinking what you're thinking right now at some point in their life. It's somebody who want to know, like, damn, like I'm sitting around the house. It's stuff you can do in your living room, man, when you could literally come out, you could be swole, you could be in good shape. You don't need to go to run the treadmill all day. You can go do some burpees for, you know, just some intense HIIT cardio and be done with it. So when you personalize it, you use your charisma, your wittiness, you know what I'm saying, and you put it together, bro, that's a product. You know what I'm saying? That's a product.
Let's go. So we're gonna jump in what, the fundamentals?
The fundamentals, man. You know, like anything else, man, you know, the foundation is always the most important. I think it's human nature at times where we want the glitz and glamour before the foundation is laid. But think about a building or a house, right? Like the foundation, the rebar, the framing, it always take the longest because that's the most important. Once that's there, now you can build the chandeliers and all the glitz and glamour. It's the same with writing, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to know the basic principles. Like for example, 12-point type font size is the most appeasing on the eyes when writing the book. Like you want to be as professional as possible and make your book as easy as possible to follow. It's already difficult with our attention spans to lock into a book as it is. So mentally and subconsciously, we're thinking of a way to stop reading anyway. You want a book that just flow. You like when you read the book, you want to feel like you in the book. You don't want to feel like you read, you want to feel like you live in it. But if you call all them words, this word's big, this word's small, this is off, you want to make sure you're using the right font. You know what I'm saying? A serif font like Times Roman or Courier, those are typical, those are standard, especially when writing fictional books. So those are things that I recommend. You know, in here we talk about the spacing, you know what I'm saying? You want to double space your manuscript. That makes it easier for the editor. And the editor is your best friend. You cannot edit your own work. If anybody tells you they can edit their own work, that's the first sign of amateurism, in my opinion. It's no knock on nobody, but you're so connected with the story, it's your story. So you're gonna overlook things because it's coming from your point of view. You can look over it 1,000 times and then you can hand it to Tone and he gonna find a typo in it. It's kind of like you go like blind to errors when, man, this book I was writing, I was having 15-hour days writing this book. Like a zombie, bro, just writing. So of course I'm missing stuff. And so you want to double space so when your editor come in, they don't got to squint in the human nature in them, have them miss something. So you want to double space, no extra spaces in between paragraphs, only one space between sentences. Your indentation, when you indent your paragraphs, you want it to be a 1/2 inch. Use the tabs, you don't want to space out. And so what this is doing is just letting y'all know when it's actually time to get to typing it, you know, whether you wrote it first, these are the guidelines that will separate you from being an amateur. You know what I'm saying? Because you only get one first impression with anything in life, right? You don't want to put out a book and it's a dope story, but there's so many typos, I can't even read through it. So now so when you finally figure that out and you put your second book out, ain't nobody gonna want to buy it because you're gonna be associated with amateurism. And that's something we can apply to life in general. You know, you always want to put your best foot forward. You only get one first impression.
You talked about, you know, writing, like that process. Were you able to, obviously you gave us some guidelines when we start typing it out. Were you able to pen it out first and then take it to the type?
So my thing was a little different. So my very first books was a movie script at first. You know, I'm going to share the story. I was just chilling with little bro. You know, I was hustling. I was going back and forth to LA. This when I was still, you know, in that lifestyle. And one of my close buddies, you know, he was on a movie set to get his SAG card. but we doing business the other way. And I was so impressed, but I'm like, damn, like, he really in the streets, but he going to be an actor? So I'm like, man, let me see this script. So I read it, and so back and forth on the plane, I'm like, man, I could do this. So I just used his as a plug and play. So once the script was written, I'm like, how can I get this to the masses? It's gonna take money that I don't have to get it as a motion picture, but I can turn it into a book. I can put it in your hand, and build a buzz behind the book, so when it is ready for the big screen, people will be familiar with it. And so mine started off as an actual script, but turning it into a book was a whole different ball game, bro. That's when the fundamentals came into play. And it was some very, very challenging nights, man. My editor challenged me, man, I want to cuss that lady out so many times. I'm up spending all this time on this work. I send it, she send it back, no, it ain't ready. What you mean it ain't ready? Going back, no, you can make it better. You know, show don't tell. That's something you're gonna see in the book too. What I mean by that is you wanna paint a picture in your book. You don't wanna say, Tone sit in the chair next to Cal. You wanna say, Tone postured upright with his shoulders lifted back and his chin up high as his black hat neatly curved, his, you know what I mean, his forehead. Like, you want to paint a picture. You want the reader engaged. You know what I'm saying? That's very important.
Yeah. Now, you know what's crazy? The reason why I asked that question, and I appreciate you sharing that, is for me, it's hard for me to do like rough drafts of things.
Yeah.
And so I was never able to like write something out. I had to go straight to the computer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like whatever's coming to my mind, I gotta type it. And so that's why it's important to have this structure from the jump.
Right.
Because I didn't have a notepad that I scribbled everything on and then transferred it. I was writing as I go, because I don't, you know, that's just the way I process things. But the other point that you made is getting challenged. And that's a big part of a writing process. You know what I mean? And you gotta be open and receptive to challenge and positive criticism, because I was on the path of writing a fictional story. Mm-hmm. My first book, I was like, yo, you know what I mean? I didn't necessarily I wanted to use my experiences, but not use myself or my character, and I wanted to leave some things out. I only wanted to tell a portion of it, and I'm flowing. I handed that off to somebody. I said, hey man, you know, I'm proud. Take a look at this, you know, first section. Tell me what you think. He said, nah.
That ain't it.
That ain't it. He said, you know, I'm salty. Like, dog, I done put in all this work. What you mean? Man. He said, nah, ain't it. Your first book need to be about you.
Okay.
That was his, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I said, you know what? I can't even argue with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then I had to figure out not to necessarily make it about me, but use my experiences and platforms to share with others, because other people are going through some of these similar things. You feel me? So that's how, but that whole notion of being challenged, the whole notion of being open to criticism, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, you definitely want to be, especially when the editor touched that and you got red marks everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yes,
yeah. Fundamentals are important though, definitely, for sure.
Absolutely. So next, like, I like to call it chop the tree down to size. You know, writing a book can be overwhelming. You know, it seemed like this big old project, especially when the end is so far away. You like, you know, you can be writing for hours and get nothing on the paper and just ball it up and be like, fuck it, I ain't gonna do it no more. You know what I'm saying? This is too much. And so you want to section it off. You know what I'm saying? Break it up into quarters. Say, you know, give yourself soft time frames. You know, just as a guide to work towards, but if you don't get there, give yourself some grace. So you could say, I want to have the first chapter, or I want to have a chapter of this book written in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And so now you have a micro goal in the midst of your ultimate goal of completing this whole book. Because think about it, if I'm like, go write me a book, and that's just a blanket statement, you trying to figure out how to get one of these. Whereas if I'm like, bro, give me a chapter in 2 weeks, that gives you an obtainable goal to continue to increase your confidence in writing the book. Because it's going to be some dark moments. It's going to be some moments, you know, that not only challenge you, but are going to discourage you. You know what I'm saying? And so just chop it down to size, you know what I'm saying? Section it off. You know, and give yourself grace. Give yourself soft time frames, but give yourself grace.
Yeah, I like to chop the tree down to size, and then also too, if you do, and that's why the guide piece is so critical. Like if you're not writing the whole book, if you want to write more of a guide, it's a lot easier.
Right.
Look, the 10 steps to bomb, and so now 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I'm saying? So I can just focus on one piece at a time. Let me just focus on step 1, then I move down to step 2.
Right. Yeah. And I want to relate that to that too, because you know I'm speaking from an experience of writing a fictional book, but even like with this ebook or with my other, I got some financial literacy ebooks as well that I published. Just take one topic and then give yourself a time frame to complete that topic. So if you like, the first topic is X, I got 2 weeks to complete X. And in those 2 weeks, I'm gonna do my best to work an hour a day towards that. You got goals, you got micro goals, and once you start checking them off, like I say, it builds your confidence, it builds your momentum, and now you on a roll, you locked in, versus you feeling like you gotta do a topic a day, and when you can't do it, now you're ready to give up.
So we got item 3, man. This is getting to it from the brain through the pen onto the paper, man. What we got?
Yeah, so man, this is letting you know, man, that your idea, it gotta be something that, I like to say, it gotta be fire, not lukewarm. You know what I'm saying? It gotta be something that you're passionate about, because if you're not passionate about it, it'll translate through your work. How the people gonna believe in it if you don't believe in it? And so let it be something that you're passionate about, something that you feel like is a need for it in the world. Like even when I wrote this one, right? Like I put myself on the cover because I represent the shine. You represent the shine. You represent the shine. We all have the shine in us. So I was like transparent, put myself in front, like I'm the first to shine, because I wanted it to resonate with other men who've been in that situation, who've dealt with trauma from their past subconsciously and let it pour into their everyday life. And so, you know, when you find a topic, find something that you know people are going to relate to and that you're passionate about. That's the most important thing. Whether it's like a workout book, a cooking book, whether it's a way to channel your anger, whether it's a way to clear your mind, whatever it is, man, you got to be on fire about it. If it's just like, to you, it's going to show in your work.
Dope. Well, that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to check the YouTube live. We're going to see what questions we have. We're going to come back. We're going to answer that. Obviously, we got a live audience as well, too, so we're going to get some questions and answer period there, man, and we're going to keep it rocking. So we'll be back in just a few minutes.
sit still. It teaches you how to think in your own thoughts. It teaches you how to be okay with being secluded. It teaches you how to be patient. So those are all things that can help you in a positive career, a positive avenue. So you're absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? You know, things that, you know, an unfortunate thing like going to jail makes you have to endure later on can help you become just that much great in another area.
Right. That's like this last time I went to prison, right before I went to prison, I was running a business. I had $100,000 in contracts from one business, for one person only, and still went to prison because of my past.
Right.
I almost messed up, but I used that time. I got business associates, business management associates, associates in horticulture, did a bunch of other classes. I actually used it to my advantage. Like, just gotta use that energy using somewhere else.
Have to. That's a blessing, bro, and I'm proud to hear that for you, man. I just pray that, you know, when you do come home all the way, that you apply everything that you learned and just continue. I don't even say day to day. I say situation to situation, because 1,000 situations can happen in one day. Just do your best to navigate it the best you can. I was telling little bro, man, grade yourself. By the week, by the day, you could say, man, a scale of 1 through 10. Today I give myself a 6. Like, man, I said I wasn't gonna drink, I had a beer. You know, I said I wasn't finna go, I know she ain't worth shit, I still went over there. I give myself a 6. If you get a 7 tomorrow, guess what? You was better the next day than what you was before. You just wanna stack positivity, bro. When we look at it in a larger scheme, when you wanna get everything overnight, that's when you lose everything, man. Give yourself grace, clap for yourself along the way, but also hold yourself accountable.
And one of the things that Cal's talking about, what did he just talk about, grade yourself daily? What's one of the things that you guys take from the clean program that we do that?
Little wins every day.
Little wins, the calendar, right?
3 little goals every day.
Yeah, win the day. You know what I mean? Win the day. We take care of the days, the weeks, the months, the years, they take care of themselves. All right, we back, guys. Appreciate it, man. Had a little Q&A with our live audience. We know some questions are coming in online as well, so we're answering those. But let's jump back into it, man. We write in our books, man. We're looking at the outline, item number 4, and starting to talk about the outline and obviously sticking to some of those timelines as we go forward.
And so, yeah, like I was explaining before, sometimes, you know, your book or your literature don't come from start to finish. You know, there's no chronological order in creativity. Your creativity don't care about the order of your story. So document it anyway. I don't care if it don't make sense. If it's on your mind, you need to write it down. Because I like to call it the murky middle. The middle, you know, you start off a story, you like, I know this is the beginning and I know how I want the end. Everything else is you know, at that point is a crapshoot, you know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to write different parts of the book at different moments. And that's typically, you know, how you want that to go. When you are making your outline, you want to, you know, you definitely want to have plot twists and arrange those plot twists, because you want to keep the reader on their edge. You want to keep excitement. The messier, the better. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how you want to over dramatize stuff. But if you're doing like a how-to or a DIY book, you want to stay as close to the structure as possible. Like, if you're writing about cooking, you don't want to start talking too much about nothing else. You know, let the message be the message. Stay straightforward, but, you know, outline your work, and that will help your story develop smoother.
And we talked a lot about that, you know what I mean, in the beginning, that outline piece, and how do we, you know what I mean, how do we do that? And then it depends on, again, the research, you know, whether it's yourself, hey, this is what I'm writing about myself, or this is what I know other people want to know and other people want to hear. I'll get into it later. I was going to talk about how you can even, like, you know, some people had a creativity, say, look, I know what I want to monetize, so I'm going to go figure out what people want to know.
Right.
So look, I'm going to go literally go to Google, right? Everything is on Google, and I'm going to go see what people are searching for. I'm going to see the top things that people are searching for as it might relate to me, right. And then that's what I'm going to write about.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? There's ways to do that. You can reverse engineer it. You see what I mean? So you find out what people are interested in, and I'm going to write about that because I got some knowledge about that. You see what I mean?
Right. And so, like, an outline, for example, like, all right, you might have a title already. I want it to be called this. That's the first thing, bam. This is what it's called. You know what I'm saying? These are the characters. This person's the main thing. I want to write about cooking. This is the title. These are the kind of dishes. Or is it soul food? Is it Italian? Is it Mexican? Is it just strictly, is it just cabinet stuff? Like, I'm going to show you how to cook with what you got. That should be on your outline. You just want something to keep you structured and on pace so you don't veer off too much, because you want the story to be the story.
Let me ask you something, bro. Why you keep talking about cooking, man? You hungry or something?
I'm always hungry, bro. You don't get this with not being hungry, you know what I'm saying? I'm always hungry, man. That's just where it go, man. Whether I'm hungry for food, hungry for game, hungry for wealth, I'm always hungry.
Easy.
But you know, man, we look like we got some cooks in the audience, man. Like, they ain't look like they missing no meals. Shit, I'm gonna talk about food, look.
Dope.
Yeah, but and also later on, I'm gonna send Tone an example of an outline, and he can print them out and give to y'all too. This one that I use, it ain't nothing detailed, nothing like that. It's just, it should be one page, just like some notes to yourself of the key points that you want to be in your story, and that way you just make sure you implement all that to get the message across. So that's what that is. And so number 5, man, we sticking to the script, man. You gotta be disciplined with your writing journey, man. You know, commit to a realistic time frame. You know what I'm saying? Like, take breaks when necessary, man.
I know it varies, but for somebody that's like, yo, I want to write a book, like, what's a realistic time frame from somebody start to finish?
I would say, what you mean for the whole book? I don't like to do that. Because, like, it takes some people 3 years to write a book, right? It took me probably like 6 months per book, you know, at the max. But that's, like I said, that was me having 15-hour days. I had at least 30 15-hour days writing this book. So I would say micro, bring it down. Like, if you can, an hour a day. An hour a day till the story done. You know what I'm saying? You could say, I'm going to do an hour a day every other day. I'm going to do an hour a day 3 days a week. I'm going to do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Treat it like you would do a workout regimen. You know that you're not finna go do 100 push-ups 3 days in a row, bro, and have no muscles. That ain't the way it go. But you know, as long as I keep doing this 100 every day, at some point, I'm going to look in the mirror, I'm going to be like, damn, this shit working. You know what I'm saying? It's the same with writing, man. Write, get a consistent time that you can do per day. So if it's 3 days a week for 30 minutes, stick to that until time permits more. Because what you don't want to happen is your everyday life to be the reason why you don't finish your story. And that's easy to do. You got kids, the kids need attention, the kids got homework, you got obligations, you got an occupation, you might have a 9 to 5. Like, time might not permit you to sit down and do an hour a day. So guess what? Instead of not doing an hour a day because that's what you said you was going to do, now you feel like you can't do nothing today. And now nothing gets done. So be very, very realistic with yourself.
I think, you know, as we talk about, obviously it's going to depend on yourself. But I like what you said. It took me 6 months. It might take somebody 3 years. At least that's a window. Somebody, you know what I'm saying? For me, it took me a year. You know, from start to finish, it took me about a year, right? Do I think people can do it quicker than that? Yeah. Depending on what you write. If you write a guide, I think you can do that in 30 days.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But other thing you said too is write till your story is finished, right?
Right.
But what I would also say in challenge to that is don't let a fully finished product keep you from, like you said, not writing at all or not finishing. Because the one thing about a book is, guess what we can always do? We can add to it later. You know what I mean? I can come with a volume 2. I can come with an additional, I can add some bonuses. Look, y'all, I told you earlier, they asked me when I'm gonna write another book. This is my 10th year anniversary. I'm not writing another book. I'm gonna add a couple chapters here,
right,
and I'm gonna make it a new edition.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we can add to it, so it doesn't have to be like, I gotta wait until this. Nah, let's put something down now, and then we can always go back to it.
Yeah, and to add to that, it's like, it's you versus you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta pay attention to what's on your plate. You know what I'm saying? He might have the freedom in the world. He might got a bag waiting on him at home. He don't gotta do nothing but write. So he can do 10 and 12 and 15-hour days. You might have to come home and work 2 jobs. You know what I'm saying? And so you might have 20 minutes a day. But guess what? Whatever you commit to, you follow through with it. And that's why you want your goal to be as realistic as possible. Because I would rather enjoy the confidence of every other day getting my 20 minutes done than the stress and the anxiety of not being able to get that 10 hours a day like him.
One of the things too, when we talking about writing, when I do write another book in this form, I'm gonna do a different strategy, and this might be helpful to some of you, is instead of me just sitting down writing, sometimes, obviously you can hear my voice, because my voice is gone, I like to talk a lot, you know what I'm saying? We do a lot of talking, right? So you can voice record your thoughts, you know what I'm saying? So that might be a part of your daily writing. Look, I'm gonna just record, I'm gonna talk my thoughts out. You see what I'm saying? And now I take that, guess what we can do with that? We can easily transcribe that, you know what I mean? We can, you can hire somebody on Fiverr to transcribe it. You can go to rev.com, rev.com. They can transcribe it.
Right.
That now becomes your book.
Right.
Then you hand that off to an editor. So literally, if I'm doing the 10-step guide every day, I might sit here on my phone for 20 minutes and just flush out all my thoughts.
Right.
And then I'm gonna let somebody else put them in nice little sentences. You see what I'm saying?
I definitely encourage the audio way, man. Like, the world is evolving, you know what I'm saying? As technology evolves, our attention spans have become a lot more less than what they was. And so, like, for example, you might not have the time to read my book, but you could throw some headphones on and you can listen to my book while you work out, while you clean up, while you cook. Again, we'll go back to food. You can do it that way. And so, in order to resonate to as many people as you can and make as much money as you can, the audio aspect definitely should be an option. And that's something that, when I do write another book, it will be an audio book. It will be, yeah. It will be. But to me, it ain't nothing like, man, picking up a book and the cover and reading the synopsis on the back and just, taking that time to let your brain scan it and picture yourself in the story. And so, man, just, the paperback is my love, man. So, but definitely want to get some audio involved. Yeah, but when it comes to sticking to the script, man, take your breaks when necessary. Allow your brain to refresh. You know what I'm saying? The dictionary, the thesaurus. Siri was my best friend. I'll be like, Siri, how do you spell this? Siri, what is this? What's a synonym for this? Because you don't want to repeat the same word. You want to say other words to get the same point across. Walk, talk. Those are words you want to stay away from. How did they walk? Did they strut? Did they stride? Did they jog? Did they run? You want to paint the picture however you can. Did they scream? Did they whisper? Because now you're going into detail. Now you're telling them exactly how he talked. So now you can envision what it sounded like. You know what I'm saying? That's what separates an amateur from a professional when you're writing. And you might have to sacrifice, man. You might have to miss that game, man. You might have to miss that show, whatever you like. You might have to cut into that, man, to stay on course with your goal, man. Bro,
I told you, it took me a year to write a book. For like the writing portion of it was probably 6 to 8 months. And for that entire 6 to 8 months, bro, I don't think I went out a weekend, because I was working through the week. So for me, it was the weekend. Like
right.
Saturdays and Sundays is when I would go do my 7, 8, 10-hour stretches. You know what I mean? So literally, my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, fiance at the time, like, man, we wasn't doing nothing for like 6 months, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? I ain't go to no dinners. I ain't go nowhere. I went to the coffee shop. I threw my headphones on, was listening to Solange, and got busy.
Yeah, and that's a more game right there for y'all, man. Like, you got these women in your lives, man. You got these partners in your lives, man. If they can't buckle down and sacrifice with you along your journey to produce something that can bring equity for your family for generations to come, she ain't the one for you. if she not encouraging that, if you ain't stepping to the table and she handing you pens, bringing you paper, bringing you refreshments and food as you lock in, she ain't the one. Because she should be adding to, not taking from. She should be an asset, not a liability. So that's some game too. That's why fiance turned into wife. Because when it was time to sacrifice and buckle down, she showed her worth. So, you know, it's little things like that. Just writing a book could really show you who you're dealing with. And it's for you to take heed to it, or, you know, warning come before destruction. You know what I'm saying? So definitely take heed to that. Take heed to that. So number 6, we talking about due dates. We already talked about that. You know, beyond due dates, man, like I say, the structure is most important to me. Staying on course. Like having your outline and staying consistent with the flow of your process. You know, I'll give you an example. If you got a 300-page book, you know, and it's 52 weeks in a year, that's like 5.5 pages per week, 5.76 to be exact. You know what I'm saying? You take that, you divide it by 3 if you want to do 3 days per week, and then that just kind of give you a guide to stay on. Like out of what, say 2 pages a day, you know, 3 days a week, some days you might get 4 pages. If you feel yourself on the road, keep going. Go for as long as time permit. Some days you might get 1. Man, I've had multiple days where I spent hours staring at a laptop, bro, and had only wrote a paragraph, bro. Like, I'm talking about ready to slam that thing, bro. I'm ready to throw the whole laptop away. I'm ready to throw it at somebody, bro, because I'm that frustrated because mentally I'm frozen. But it's okay. When those times happen, it's time to go do something else. I don't care what the plan was. I don't care, bro. It's time. If it gets to that point, go do something else. Clear your mind, and then let your creativity regenerate, and then you come back and do it. And so, you know, just break down what you want to do per week and do your best to live by it. Like, you feel me? Shoot for the stars, you'll fall somewhere in the sky. That's what I like to say. So, you'll be all right.
Couple more points, man, then we gonna take another quick break, answer some questions. What we got?
Oh yeah, so you know, I say keep it real with yourself in all times. As far as procrastination, it come with it. Prepare for it. Plan for it. It's gonna be days you feel like, bro, I'm not writing shit today. I don't care what Cal said, what Tone said. I ain't writing shit today, bro. I'm done, bro. My girl done pissed me off. These badass kids keep getting on my nerves. Whatever the case may be, I'm just not gonna write today. It's not the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you shoot for the stars, you fall somewhere in the sky. You wanna hold yourself to a standard, do the best you can to live up to it, and when all the smoke clears, you wanna end up in the green and not the red. You know what I'm saying? So it's the overall spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, if you anything like me or how I was prior to this, I'm a perfectionist. Not only do that shit need to get done, I need to get done now. I need to get it done tomorrow. You feel me? This million I need it tomorrow, bro. I want it all. And now you take more risk, and you know, shit, the harder you swing, it's either home run or strike out. You're more likely to strike out. Take your base hits, man. I did 2 pages today. Applaud. That's an accomplishment. I did 2 pages today. I'm good. I'm proud. I'm confident. Tomorrow I'll try 3. And guess what? If I don't get 3, so be it. Wednesday I might not get none. It's just the way it is. But hold yourself accountable, but also have grace with yourself. You know, so that's for point 7. Point 8, you know, study like a bookworm, bro. Like he said, study your genre. You know, when you researching, you trying to find what to write, you want to see, okay, what's the most Google skill? And then here go a top 10. I guarantee out that 10, you got some knowledge in one of them. So you take that, you align that with your passion, and you dig in, man. Talk to Siri, man. What's a different word for speculate? What's a different word from the days of having to flip through the dictionary and be, you don't got to do that no more, man. Every phone got it. Every Google, man, Google was undefeated. You feel me? YouTube, man. Use the resources that you have access to and research in that field. Because truthfully, the more research you do, the more time you invest, you become somewhat of an expert in that field, right? You don't need no degree or no diploma to determine that. If you've worked out for 10,000 hours in your life, you are an expert in it. You are a master in it. Me, I'm an expert in fucking up. Can't nobody do it better than me. I promise you. No matter how hard you try, you ain't gonna compete. I'm gonna win. So maybe I can write a book on telling you how I fucked up, and then maybe you know what not to do. I mean, that's a stream. That's a stream. That's a field you can work on. So find your niche, research, bro, and then put it to action, man.
Get it. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, man, we'll get into, we're kind of halfway through right now. We'll get into the second half, man, and kind of finish out, bro. We'll take a quick couple-minute break, answer some questions. We'll be right back.
So we're going to jump into point number 9. The reader is always right. The reader is always right. Every decision that you make about the product that you're going to put out needs to be with the mind frame that I'm pleasing somebody else. You can't be so sensitive that you got a problem with people critiquing it, or you got a problem with people just not liking it. Because at the end of the day, those are the people who are investing into it. And so you want to always put yourself in that perspective, you know. If you reading a chapter, bro, and it's boring to you, you know that shit boring, bro. Like, we don't keep it real. We ain't gotta lie. It's boring. It ain't cool. So that don't mean scrap the whole thing. It just mean go add some excitement to it. Go over it. But you always want to look at it as a reader versus an author. And it's not the simplest thing to do in the beginning, because it's human nature to become so invested into your story, because to you, your story is the best story that's out. But you have to understand, like, look, I want people to flow through this as if it was a movie, as if they were in it.
And I think the only thing I would say to maybe, you know, I don't mean to challenge that, but at the same time, you know, it depends on what you're writing it for too.
Right.
Because I think sometimes people just want to write for their own therapy.
Right.
Writing is a therapy.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? So you might be like, man, I don't give a shit what anybody else think. I'm writing this for me. And sometimes some of the greatest pieces of work come from that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So obviously, if your goal is to sell 1 million copies,
you need to be thinking about some other people, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're doing it for therapy, then that's a different story. I think.
Talk about that a little bit.
So yeah, all my books were therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? So my first one came at a time where I was going through a lot. You know what I'm saying? Probably one of the worst moments of my life. You know, dealing with losses and, you know, just stuff that come and go with the streets. It's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? And originally, I didn't have the mind frame that other people were going to read it. But once that did become the mission, I had to write it from a reader's perspective. That's just the way it goes. No matter what product you're selling, you know, legitimate or not, like, you have to sell what people want to buy. But if you're doing this strictly for therapy, like if you just want to journal or just writing this how you release, then that's strictly for you. You know, and then eventually you might want to put it out and just don't care about it selling. You just like, I want to just get this out to the people that it do resonate with. That's okay too. But I'm here to show y'all how to produce another stream of income. Yeah. And when that's your mind frame, bro, you got to give the people what they want. And so definitely write, you know, from that perspective, you know what I'm saying, and make it as intriguing as possible. You know, that's what I say. And with that, point 10, slide into that. You want to stir up plenty drama. You want it to be as juicy as possible. Especially from a fictional book, this is your opportunity to be as dramatized as you want, as dramatic as you want, man. Like, put 2 on the 10, man. Be extra with it. You know what I mean? It's a story. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to capture imaginations, man. And so just, man, go left with it, man. If it's a fight scene, man, like, man, why I gotta be a close fight, man? He got knocked out, his tooth came out, he swallowed another tooth, half his tongue, he punched him with a left hook, and half his tongue ripped out his mouth. Like, that's gonna keep people on their edge, man. Be dramatic about it. If it's a cookbook, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, man, sauce it up, add your personality to it. You know, don't nobody wanna come and read, look, bro, I wanna see some effects, man. I want to see some fireworks.
You know, so again, you know, my first book was about me. So, you know, obviously, you know, non-fiction. And when you talk about stir up plenty drama, I had some things in there that only I knew. Right. You know, I had some things in there that I kind of debated with myself, like, yo, should I put that out? Right. Especially if it's dealing with somebody else. Right. And the conclusion that I came into my mind was like, you know what? This is my story. Your story. So for real, I don't even really care if it affects someone else. And I say that lightly. I don't mean it in a literal. But what I'm saying is, if they think different, then shit, they
can
write
tell
a
their
story,
story,
you know what I'm
right.
saying? But I'm gonna tell my story from my perspective.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's my truth. And if somebody else get hurt in the process, then that's on them. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of some drama things that was in my book that, you know what I mean? And the crazy thing was, what I put in my book, the person, one of the stories in here, the person didn't even see it or hear it till maybe like 10 years, you know, maybe like 8 years later. You know what I'm saying?
It be like that, man. But your story is your story. It's your experience. And so, you know, sure you want to be mindful of the characters that played a role in your life, but I look at it like this, man. If you just being real, that person should have thought about that when they were doing whatever to make you feel like that. And so, you know, I'm sure people have read my books and placed themselves in it, whether it was out of guilt or whether it was out of fact. But it's my story. And it's my perception. It's my angle of my experience. It's mine. And so if the person got a problem with how you're depicting them, you know, unless you're just totally fabricating something, it's only so much they can feel. And so you can't allow those feelings to taint or to water down your version of what happened to you. So stay true to you, stay true to your story. That's how I see it. Definitely, that's how I see it. And so writer's block, man. Writer's block is unavoidable. It's painful. It's a roadblock, bro. Yo, it's gonna cause a lot of anguish, man, because it comes at the worst times. It comes when you're the most excited, when you're the most confident. The next thing you know, boom, here you go. Now you stuck. And man, it's so tough, man. It's just like I said, man, one time I caught writer's block for like 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, man, no matter how long I sat in front of that laptop, I could not come up with nothing to add to the story. Not even like feeling like I was writing in order and I got to that point and got stopped. I couldn't think of nothing to write about no parts of the book. I'm just stuck. And so, you know, you want to do things like avoid focusing on the end, bro. You know what I mean? You know, if you're trying to make the perfect ending and you don't have it in your mind, just stay away from the end. Try to find other places to add value to your story. You could be halfway done in your mind. You can go back to that first half, right? And dive into an area where you can make the story stronger with what you've already done versus trying to think about what you're doing next. And me personally, I created, man, a 15-minute brainstorming activity, man, where before every writing session, take 15 minutes, set your timer, and write about anything. It don't even gotta make sense. Whatever come to your mind, man. You know what I mean? You wanna write whatever, man. If you seen, you know, man, if you was watching TV, man, you seen a fine female that you seen for the first time, write about her. Write about your child. Write about if your son spilled the juice this morning. Just write for 15 minutes about the juice. And when that timer go off, if you locked in writing in the juice, now your brain, your creative juices is flowing, no pun intended, and you ready to keep. Now, okay, I can hop into this. So it's just kind of like, it's like getting warmed up. You know what I'm saying? That works for me. When I'm having writer's block, I go write about something off topic.
I think another thing too is, and I don't think you want to get too deep in this, but if you know, struggling, like you said, you might want to go to some parts of the book that you already written and make that a little more juicy. Also, you can look at maybe going in and doing some soft edits to some of those things too. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know what? I can't think of nothing. Let me go and edit a little bit, you know what I mean, in that first part. And then, oh shoot, you know what? That might lead you to another thought.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Like, let me go refine it. Let me go see, you know, if there's some obvious typos.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I don't want you to be too caught up on typos when you're writing your first draft. The goal is to just get a draft on paper, man. Write. Just be creative. And then when you go back for your second draft, you can be more tedious about the spelling and about the punctuation. But, bruh, do what you can do and outsource the rest. That's why you hire an editor. You know what I'm saying? Here you go. Like, you do your job. You know what I'm saying? So don't get too caught up on that. But yeah, like he said, if you can't continue forward, go back and you're still in the story. Just clean up what you can just so you can be productive for that day with your story. You know what I'm saying? We spoke about the middle. You know what I'm saying? The middle being the toughest, so you just want to make sure you just want to stay away, you know what I'm saying, from being too focused on the way that your story should go. Just right, man. Right. So the ending of the story, you know, is what legends are made of, man. The ending, how you bring the story home is what's gonna make or break your book. So that's the part that you want to take the most time on, man. You want to rush, focus, take your time, concentrate, give the readers the payoff they've been promised, man. But you know, think about it like this: for a person to make it to the end of your book, that means they've stayed engaged of every part, the strong parts, the not so strong parts. And so, man, you want to make sure, man, the end is rewarding. You know what I'm saying?
I know a lot of people, they read the end of the story and then might go back and read it the first, you know what I mean, the rest
Some
of the
people
book.
do
My
that.
wife do that all the time. I'm like, yo, why would you read the end of the story? She'll go
Right.
read the end and then go back and read the rest of the book.
Right, and so the end, man, that's the big bang, man. You know, that's the part of the book that I feel like you should be, you know, you should critique the most. You should hold yourself to the highest standard of how the way you close your book out. You know what I'm saying? Because although first impression is very important, that the last taste you leave in the reader's mouth, you know what I mean, is going to be what determines if they become a fan or not. And so, you know, you do that by taking your time, and that's the area you want to be the most critical about. Yeah.
Dope. So, man, we getting almost through from beginning to, you know, setting it up, the fundamentals,
Yes,
all the way
indeed.
through the end of the story. And now I know, you know, we start to talk about, you know, the finish line and what that start to look like. And we're going to, you know, start to refine that process. And you got that laid out already for us.
Yes, so at this point, you almost done. You know what I'm saying? You've had multiple drafts. Now you have the draft that you feel like is ready to be edited, right?
How many drafts did you go through?
Like 5.
5 drafts?
For the first
I think I
book.
went through like 3 on my first.
First book was 5, last one was like 3.
Yeah.
2, 3, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Once I became more familiar with the process. You know, mainly you want to get that first draft, one that's a little better. And then, you know, I feel like 3 should be the most, because at that point, you in your own way. It's time for the professional to do their job. You know what I'm saying? And so, before you get it to an editor, because you're going to pay the editor per word or per page, depending on who you're dealing with. I reference an editor in here that I recommend you using. That's who I use for all mine. And she's very forward. Very forward, very blunt, and she's very critical, and it's challenged you to be the best writer you can be. And so things you want to do, you want to take out words that don't need to be in there. You know what I'm saying? Like just too many adjectives to describe, you know what I'm saying? You want to do that. You want to make sure everything is spelled to the best of your ability, because the less time your editors spend cleaning up the things you could have cleaned up, the more time they can focus on making your story better. Excuse me, because that's what an editor does. They make a good story, a great story. You know, they don't make the correction for you in regards to like what you could say, but they'll ask you a question like, why did you say walk instead of use a better word to describe walk? And so now you can go and find a word to describe the way they walked. And so it's these little things like that that take your story over the edge.
What would you say, like, the editor that you used, is that somebody that you didn't know from the beginning and you've developed a relationship with?
I didn't know her from a can of paint. You know, me personally, you know, I wanted an African American to edit my work because I felt like my work had a lot of culture in it. And so I just wanted to be relatable. I didn't want somebody to critique it off of their upbringing, just not being able to relate to it. And so when I found her, You know, she had published 20 books herself. She had been an editor for over 20 years. And so I chose her, I went with her, and that was the best thing I did. You know, shout out Elaine Garcia, you know what I'm saying? She ever see this, you know, that woman, you know, she's great at what she do. And the most important thing she taught me was show, don't tell. I can't preach that enough. Show your work, don't tell your work. Any way you can use to show it, show it. Don't say walk, describe how they walk. Don't say talk. You know what I mean? Don't use sight words, man. Like, use words to draw it out so that picture's painted.
Where else would you recommend people find an editor? Because me too, I didn't know my editor from anything. I actually went online. Again, this was 10 years ago.
Right.
It's a lot easier. There's sites, there's platforms now that people can, you know what I mean, they will bid for your work. Like, you can say, look, I want an editor for this. This is what my story looks like.
Right.
And people will literally bid, hey, I'll do it for X amount of dollars. Somebody else might bid, I'll do it for X amount of dollars.
You can Google, you can use Fiverr. You know what I'm saying? You can use Fiverr, you can use Google. Or, you know, another thing, you could take some of the books that you like the most and see, you know, the editor should be documented somewhere in the credits, you know what I'm saying? You may use an editor from, like I say, a book that you enjoy, you know what I'm saying? Whether that's in your price range or not, you know, that's to be determined. But typically, you know, like $1.25 a page is typical, you know what I mean? And, you know, your story will shrink because a lot of things will be changed. Your story will shrink. Don't worry about the page count. The story's done when the story's done. I can't preach that enough. And so, but the key is to stay locked in with a good editor. You don't want to jump around. Once you find one that you rock with, keep them close. You know what I'm saying? And so, there's different forms of editing. And so, like copy editing, also known as sentence level editing, you know, that's the most popular form. It's the grammar check, you know what I'm saying? Is it spelled right? Did you use the word right? You know, is the word consistent throughout the book, you know, in whatever angle you're using it? And so an editor is going to charge you, you know, per page and also per form of editing also. And so some things just need copy editing, which is just like fine tuning it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, a self-help book is not going to need line editing. It's no like plot twist or gaps to fill. It's just strictly information. So copy editing would be what you would need to just make sure everything's spelt right. You know what I'm saying? The grammar is correct. And so that's copy. And like I say, line editing is more in detail. It's sentence structure, the length of it, the style, you know, show not tell, things of that nature. So if you're writing a fictional book, you're going to need copy editing and line editing. If you're doing a self-help book, if you're doing a skill set book, you're just going to need copy editing.
So do you recommend the same editor will be able to provide all of these services, or you might have to have different editors for different types of
the same service? Editor typically. Okay. Like crazy, like with this book, like because of some of the things in the book were too graphic for her, it triggered something from her childhood, and she passed it off to a colleague, which I thought was very interesting. You know what I mean? She was like, it's so well written and so detailed that it triggers something that happened to her in her past, and she didn't want to touch it, you know what I'm saying? And so she passed it along. So they have a network that they deal with. Like if she is overbooked, she'll say, hey, you know, Cal, I can't get you in now, but I got somebody who I vouch for who can. And so they typically have a network, but when you hire her, she has different prices for different services, so you can go to the same person. You know, proofreading, of course, is self-explanatory, which is typically the last step, you know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is, in their network, the one who edits is not going to be the one who proofread it. So if you're editing his book and I'm editing his book, when it gets to proofreading, we'll switch. Because at that point, you've edited so much, now you're engulfed in the story. You may have missed something, and it's just human nature to do that. So that's something that's good to know as well. But beyond all that, you cannot edit your own work. You cannot. Don't let nobody tell you you can. That is a recipe for disaster. That money is money well spent. You can't put a price on good editing. You try to go edit yourself, bro. Now, don't get me, you can do it. But
Nah, don't.
Don't do it. Because the success rate is very, very slim. There are like the lady who write all the Harry Potter books, she don't edit her own stuff. She got a series of work. I'm sure she edits for other people, but you cannot edit your own work.
I thought about it when I was like, oh, you know what I mean? I can do this. I done wrote the book. Like, you feel me? I can critique it and correct it.
I spent an extra month and a half on my first book than what I should have trying to edit the work. I just wasted time.
Time and money, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Typesetting is another form that's important that we overlook. Like just being able to get your book formatted where the margins are the same, your headers and your ledgers are, your headers and your footers are the same length. Like there's a science to that like a Microsoft Word can't produce. And so all editors don't do that, but you do. Like typesetting is so your pages end with this at the same place. Your numbers on your pages are aligned correctly. You don't want numbers on the back side of pages, right? You only want numbers on the right side that face forward. And so things like that only professionals would know, those are things that you need to know because it adds professionalism to your project. And in my opinion, it's priceless. And so those are things to take in mind. And like I said, I do have people in place and resources for you all. When you do get to that point, you'll be able to reach out and I'll be able to point you in the right direction. My publishing company, all I do is pen publishing. We do that type of work and we outsource what we can't do. And so for all you, everybody listening, you know, you're trying to write a book, we can help you get it from the brain to the bookshelf, you know what I'm saying? So everything from the idea to distribution, we help with.
Dope. Well, I know they want to know how much it costs.
How much
do it cost? Man?
How much it will cost? So it varies. It varies by page count. It varies by how much, money we have to do. So like I said, copy editing, if that's all we have to do, that's going to be a lot, cheaper than if we had to line edit it, you know what I mean? So it all varies, and it's no cookie cutter price, and we do our best to remain fair, especially people whose circumstances we relate to.
Yeah. But obviously we got a breakdown of an ideal budget or what you should be looking to spend.
Of an ideal budget, yes. So I just put some common expenses, like editing can cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,500 depending on the page count. You know what I mean? Edit can be very expensive. Like for this book, I probably paid like $1,000, you know what I'm saying, to have it edited. You know what I'm saying? Typesetting could be another $450 to $1,000. So everything really relies on the page count. It depends on how big your book is. But please don't let that be no determining factor on your story. Don't omit none of your story to try to fit into this range so it can be inexpensive as possible. There's ways around that. You know what I mean? And I was going to wait till this was over to holler at you about, but since we live, we might as well kick it off. Man, I'm going to sponsor, 3 people, you know what I'm saying, here today. I'm going to sponsor, through this process, man. I'm going to sponsor. So, to show you our appreciation for your commitment to overcoming your circumstances, we going to sponsor a couple people through this process and get you on the bookshelf, man. So once your story come and your story ready, we going to help out, man.
Dope. That's big.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Big. Because as you see, it does cost. There are some expenses to it. The cool thing about it is the hardest part don't cost too much nothing but time. You know what I mean? Your time. And that's the that's the hardest part. If you have something that you can then take to somebody to edit it and design it and all of that, but there are some expenses that come with it. So appreciate your willingness to do that, bro.
That's all good, man. You know, anything I can do to help, man. And for the ones who, you know, have to come out of pocket, if you're able to, the thing is this: printing and distribution is typically between $5 to $8 per unit per book, right? But the thing is, if you spending $8 and you selling it for $20, that's a $12 profit. And so for you to get your investment, the return on your investment is tremendous with a book. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to buy enough to get them for $3 to $4 per book. And if you sell it for $25, I mean, you know the math on that. So don't be discouraged about the price that it's gonna cost to get it up and running. Just think about, if I have a good product, I can get that back and some right away. Yeah, so it's very important.
And you might, this is where we get into the financial education side of things.
Absolutely.
This is how we show you where to go get the money, how to put it together, right? So that you can have the finances you need to invest in yourself.
Absolutely,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
that's why the financial literacy that you about to lace them with is so important, because, you establish an LLC, you go, leverage your credit, get some funding, and now none of this came out your pocket. Now you can come see Cal with the bank money, and we gonna bust their money down the middle. I don't gotta feel like I'm taking away from what you're trying to do. Once you come home, we gonna show you how to go get the they bag, OPM, baby, other people's money. You know what I'm saying? We live by that. So yeah, man, we gonna get y'all into that too. Publishing, you got traditional publishing, you got self-publishing. Traditional publishing is you putting together some work and then pitching it and trying to get a book deal. Now, a book deal, with anything, it has its perks and it has its negatives. You know what I'm saying? For example, right? When you get a book deal, you sign away your rights. You sign away your publishing. They have creative control over your cover, over your design, over where it's sold at, and they're going to typically give you an advance up front and a very small royalty on the back end. So they might say, okay, we'll give you $15,000 today, and then every unit sold we'll give you $1. Typically it's like 30 cents. So just think about how many books you would have to sell to actually get some revenue. Whereas if you take the self-publishing route like I did, it's like being in the entertainment business. If you're an independent artist as a rapper, you going direct to retail. You skipping over the middleman. So I can pay for distribution and printing $4 a book and sell mine for $25 a book.
And this is where that true hustler come out.
That's when that true hustle, man.
Figure out what you're really made of.
Right, and you can translate your prior, wherever background you come from, into this. If you can sell one thing, you can sell anything, whether that's legitimate or not. If you can go sell in retail and sell shoes at a shoe store, why you can't sell your own book? You use those same tactics and that same logic to push in your book. And so absolutely, I encourage self-publishing because it's easier to establish the guideline of wealth, because now we can LLC it. Now we can go get funded for it. Now we can use tax breaks to resonate with it. And you can sell less books and make way more money, and all the other doors that open up. They might have clauses in your contract with traditional publishing that you can't do certain engagements about the book unless they line it up.
And it's just a lot easier, you know what I'm saying? And it's even more easier. I mean, I self-published 10 years ago. One of my main reasons is because, first of all, I just like to own my own. You know what I mean? I like to do things on my own. I like to figure it out. The other reason is 9 times out of 10, people ain't trying to mess with you unless you got some history, unless you got some experience, unless you got some books under your belt. Right. You know what I mean? So they like, yo, we ain't about to give you nothing. You ain't never wrote a book before. I don't really know who you are. Right. So this day and age is, the information is out there. Things are more accessible. It's easier for you to self-publish. I created my own publishing company, you know what I mean, and just published my own book, right? And it's not that difficult to do. And so I would recommend self-publishing as well, unless you got a, big name, dope story, and you got some connections, then that might be the way to go. But for me and how we get down, self-published. Baby.
Self-publishing, man. And remember, people buy you before they buy anything from you. That's why Pepsi and Coca-Cola could be right next door to each other and both ball out. Because it's about you. People buy you before they buy anything from you. So you selling yourself versus your book, your personality, your charisma, your charm, your mannerisms, your respect. Whatever your demographic is, sell yourself to it and the sales will follow. You know what I mean? Some of my biggest purchases came from organizations that just believed in me because I came from incarceration to dedication and turned my life around. So they like, we just want to support you. We just want to see you doing good. And so, you know, they bought thousands of books, you know, hundreds of books, you know what I'm saying? Which I'm extremely grateful for. But if I wasn't willing to put myself out there and be transparent and stand on where I came from and not be afraid of it, who's to say that would have been the case?
And I think, man, when you have a tangible product like this and people see you, you know what I'm saying, doing good, people see you taking that risk, people see you investing in yourself, right? They're more willing to support you,
Absolutely.
right? And now you have something to offer them in return. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, support me and what I'm doing. And, you know, $20, you know, yeah, it's a lot to some people. It's not a lot to other people. They'll throw you $20 all the time. But if you just saying, hey, give me $20, right? That's a lot different than say, hey, buy my book for $20. Let me give you something in return for it. You know what I mean? And so people are willing to help. Having something like this, to your point, opens a lot of doors that may not never be able to, that you might not never been able to open. You know what I'm saying? And so again, using this as, when I wrote my book, it wasn't to sell 1 million copies. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't sold 1 million copies.
Right.
But what it did, it was a platform for me to go in and to speak, and to go in and share, and to go in, and now I get a chance to travel the country, right? Speaking and training and coaching. And part of the reason is because, you know, I started with this. You know what I mean?
Which is a beautiful thing, man. You don't gotta be a New York Times bestseller to open up, like you say, avenues to do other things in life. You know, me writing a book at one of the lowest points in my life, me stepping out on faith, just knowing I had to do something different, not knowing where it was gonna lead me to, put me indoors where I learned financial literacy. I was able to get funding for my company that I would have never gotten before, like 6 figures of it. I was able to meet people who opened up opportunities for me to meet other people that led to other opportunities. And so they say when you take 1 step, God will take 10. You got to believe in yourself, because you can't convince nobody else to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. And so understand, man, you know, you are worthy of success. You know, you good enough right where you are. My mama just texted me that, man, the other day, and I really needed that. You are good enough right where you at. Everything's happening for you, not to you, man. You tell yourself those 2 things every day, bro, you on the right track.
Yeah, that's easy. We talked a lot about the book, right? And obviously what goes in between the covers. But how important is the design of not only the interior, which we talked about, the style, the format, the typesetting, but how important is this thing right here? How important is that cover?
It's extremely important, man. You know, the saying is you can't judge a book by its cover, but we do anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just human nature. Like even with food, right? We eat with our eyes before we taste it. So when you see something that catches your eyes, it strikes an initial interest. And so the graphic design on my books is very important. It's really, you know, it's kind of like my niche is what I'm known for. You know, I look at it as versus like I'm big on music, so like an album cover. You know, you remember like whether it was an album, a CD, or a tape, like you was attracted to what the cover said. You know, a magazine, the cover, the art is very, very important. And so, you know, I have a graphic designer, man. Shout out my guy, man, Jay Noriel, man, with Hub Design, bro. He does all my graphic work, my books. He does my website work, man. He's very affordable, and he's also somebody who, you know, who's done stints in the penal system, who has a passion for, you know, helping people who come from our circumstances. So he's referenced in here. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is discount code, man, Cal. All I do is pin, or just say, hey, Cal, refer me. He gonna bless you. But book design is very, very important, bro. Very, because it captures the interest of people who might necessarily not be avid readers. It takes an avid reader to see past that and get what's inside. So, something like this, the texture of it, the design, you know what I mean? It adds to the character of the book. So that was very important for me.
And even like, I take my book, for example, the title of it is Waiting to Fail, right? But how we did a play on words and scratched out the succeed, right? And so when somebody picks this up, you're like, what? Like, why would somebody be waiting to fail? You know what I mean? And so just that graphic and design and the play is going to make, somebody at least read a couple of pages, man, what this guy talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so don't skimp out, you know what I mean, on the design work. Don't skimp out on the graphics, you know what I'm saying? On the cover, the back, as well as the inside, because this is what makes it easy for people to read and want to continue reading, not only the first book, but hopefully many more to come.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so we're going to jump into distribution, man, which is why we all here, man. We're here to get the money, bro. We're here to teach y'all how to turn your story into money. So the platform to get it to is extremely important. I highly recommend Amazon KDP. Amazon KDP, you can upload your file as a PDF of your story directly into their platform. You upload your cover art. They merge it all together for you. You know what I'm saying? Your dimensions and everything have to be straight. That's where the graphic designer comes in as well. They make sure that the dimensions on the spine of your book align with the page count. Everything is there. And you can get what's called owner's drafts. So say you want to get books, physical copies to sell yourself. Your owner's draft is going to be between that $5 and $8 range. And then you put your own price on it. But then they charge you, so they are a little expensive when you're strictly using their platform. So your books will be on Amazon, but they gonna charge you like a 60% royalty. So you're only gonna get 40% of what your book is listed for, but they cover everything. So a person can just go order your book on Amazon, and then it'll just go to your account. And so those are the avenues I've taken prior. Like, yes, it's gonna be on Amazon. If you buy from Amazon, that's cool. I'll eat the royalty, but I would much rather you come to my website and buy it. Because when you come to my website and buy it, I'm distributing it to you 100%. And so I would advise everybody, and we'll show you how to do that, get a website, where you can sell your book directly, even if you got to be the one to go mail it off. But that's where you really going to get the bang for your buck.